Hey guys, Carlos Colon here with Georgia Perimeter Homes, and today we're going to be talking about termite inspections, termite clearance letters, and termite bonds. Hey guys, thanks so much for jumping in. So let's jump straight into it. So you're buying a house or you're selling a house and someone says, hey, we want a termite inspection or clearance letter or bond. What are they? So let's start with just in general a termite inspection. Okay, a termite inspection is not what it seems like. It usually implies, and it does, it implies that it's just termites that they're looking for. That's not the case. What they're actually looking for is what they call a WDO clearance. And what that is wood destroying organisms. Okay, that's really what they're looking for. So if you live on a crawl space, for example, they'll crawl into the crawl space themselves, the inspector will. They'll move around, they'll look at everything that's wood or even if it's just brick. And what they're going to look for is evidence of either termites or termite tunnels, whether they be current or pre-existing, as well as anything that's wood destroying. For example, some funguses will eat away at wood. And so in that case, they have to report that. There are even some cases where the inspector can't get to some areas of the home. For example, if you have a very low deck on your house and they can't crawl underneath to check that, they'll usually not include that part of the dwelling in their letters that they're writing for that inspection. So that is what an inspection is they're really looking for wood destroying organisms, and that could mean anything. Powder post beetles is one of the big ones. Termites, of course, is a big one. Funguses are in mold and mildew. Those are wood destroying organisms. So you have to think about that a little bit differently. So let's move on to termite clearance letter. Okay, what a termite clearance letter is they've done this inspection and they have said, hey, we're good. There's no evidence of current wood destroying organisms, and there's no evidence of pre-existing wood destroying organisms. Here's why that's important, that second part. When we talk about pre-existing, let's say that you live in an older home and there used to be termites there 5 years ago, and maybe some of those old tunnels are still there. Well, guess what that company is going to say? Well, listen, there are termite tunnels here, and we can't give you a clearance letter unless we can treat this. Otherwise, we're not able to cover this with our own insurance. That's important because what they're basically saying is we cannot provide you this letter unless we treat your property just in case. And so it's really important to know what they're going to do and how they're going to do it. Now, that's an example of a crawl space. Basement, same idea. They're not going to open up your walls to look at this stuff. They want to look at what they can see. So let's say you live on a slab. How does that affect me? Well, obviously, they're not going to crawl under your slab, but they are going to walk around the outside of your home and they're going to look for the same evidence. They're going to look for tunneling, or old or currently existing tunneling. They're also going to look at your bushes, and they're going to say if you've got contact from bushes or any kind of grass or anything else to your property, that could potentially bring future issues. And so you want to be aware of these things. They will need to access the inside of the home. And I'll give you an example. Under one situation, there was no evidence on the exterior of the home that there was any termite issues. Home was a 2-story home on a slab. But when they walked into the home, they saw almost these lines on the inside of the wall, and they said, well, this home has active termites. I had to personally go myself to see what they were talking about. And sure enough, there were these little tunnels, and if you poked a hole at these tunnels, all of a sudden these little creatures would come out. They just look like ants, and sometimes ants with little wings on them. And they actually had active termites. Now, the truth is this the end of the world? Not necessarily. I've purchased several personal homes myself, investment homes that had pre-existing termite damage, and it just depends on how extensive the damage is. Let's be honest. If your wood is all falling apart, basically your home is useless at that point, and you're probably going to have to tear it down and rebuild it. But if it's just something that has started recently and it hasn't caused that much damage, they'll treat it, they'll spot treat it, and then they'll treat around the property to prevent future damage. Now, that's what you have to do to get a termite clearance letter. That is not the same as getting a termite bond. And let me explain the difference. So clearance letter says no pre-existing damage or issues, and also there aren't any current issues. Termite bond, same thing, you still have to meet this requirement, but also if any future issues arise or any future damage, guess what? We will cover not only the treatment, but we will also cover repairing whatever was damaged. Now, typically you have to renew this every year. And so you have to pay this company, they do their inspections because they want to catch it early. A termite bond is always more expensive than a termite clearance letter. In a lot of cases, we can get a termite inspection and clearance letter for free if there's no pre-existing or current issues with termites or any wood destroying organisms. And so to get a termite bond, no ifs, ands, or buts. And we need to be clear about this. A termite bond and repair, to get that, no matter what, they have to treat. And if you don't already have a bond, that means they have to treat the property, and they have to be able to ensure the repair part of it. A lot of older homes will kick out that second part. So let's say that you're selling a home from the 1920s, even if you've remodeled the whole thing. A lot of times, companies will not write a repair bond on that home. They could do a bond, but not the repair part of it, because it's so old. They aren't willing to guarantee that. So just make sure that the company that you're dealing with, you ask them these questions on the front side in order to know. And if you're not the one asking, your agent should be, to make sure that they protect you. There are some situations where we've sent 3 different inspection companies out to do the same inspection on the same property. 2 of them have said, "Hey, we found active termites." The other one said, "Hey, nothing. All good to go." And so this is why it's important to understand who you're working with and be able to build that trust. Now, who pays for this? If you're selling a home, it's typically part of the contract in some way, shape, or form. Now, what does this mean? If it says seller to provide on behalf of the buyer prior to closing, a termite clearance letter or a termite bond, that means that the seller is going to pay for it. And a lot of times it's at closing with a lot of companies, or you can pay for it in advance. Now, the other side of it is if it doesn't say that and the buyer just wants this, that's fine, but if it's not part of the agreement, guess who's paying for it? The buyer, because the seller never agreed to pay for it. Now, if you already have a termite bond, typically there's also a way that you can transfer that bond, and then you want to stipulate who's paying for that transfer. Is it the seller or the buyer to transfer that bond to the new buyer, the new future owner? So that's it. There's a lot more that we could go into, but again, to summarize, termite inspections and clearance letters and bonds are not just for termites. It's wood destroying organisms. That's the best way to look at it. So thank you so much for joining us. And if you have questions about this, or you're looking to buy or sell a property and want to reach out to us and pick our brain and get our opinion, please give us a call or check out our website. Our phone number is 770-314-1285, and our website is www.georgiaperimeterhomes.com. Thanks. Bye.